Buttonholes are another easy thing you can do on a sewing machine. And with this machine, you have 2 buttonhole feet. The first one, and it's labeled C, is a foot that you can actually open up from the back and put the button in that you want to do a buttonhole for. So that means the machine knows the exact length to make this buttonhole. So as you attach it, you'll notice that the bar is way far in front, and that means that the foot, it's going to look like it sticks out the back. So as it comes in, it's going to go like this. So all the button and the extra length is way back here. The other thing is there is a lever that you need to pull straight down. It hangs out behind the needle threader. Pull that down. That's the lever that will actually be able to track how big of a button is actually back here. So once we do for the automatic buttonhole, all we have to do is select the buttonhole stitch. Now, number 0 is a buttonhole, but notice that you have other buttonhole styles up here on the top of your machine. So from a keyhole to an heirloom buttonhole, stretch buttonhole, and a jeans buttonhole. So all of those can be done on this machine. So when you go ahead and start, let's just say this was the edge of our garment or pillow or duvet cover we're adding buttonholes to. You'll want to put starting spots along here. So measure them out and put a starting spot. That way, when you set this up here, the needle will come down at the point you want to start. And then all you need to do is stitch. As it stitches, you'll notice it actually wanting to stitch backwards. When the lever touches the back of the button here, it will stitch back forward as a satin stitch all the way back to the beginning. And then it will go backwards again. Back up to the back, straight stitch, tack at the top, and that satin stitch, both those satin stitches are the same direction. That really makes them look good. So at this point, just keep your foot on the foot control. The machine knows where the beginning was. Some extra locks, and then it will stop for you. Just keep your foot on the foot control until it comes to a complete stop. So when you lift this up, you'll notice your buttonhole is completely done. It can be trimmed nice and close to those stitches because they were locked and they are not going to come undone. So have you ever made a buttonhole that easy? So all you would need to do is to continue to repeat over and over as you go. But let me show you the uniqueness of why you actually have 2 buttonhole feet. So this one is your manual buttonhole foot. It's noted as also a C foot. And so I'm going to just go ahead, lift this up, slide that out. So this one is going to have just a slightly different function to work with. And stick around because we're also going to do a corded buttonhole too. So we're going to actually do a couple different ones. Okay, so this one we're going to need 2 points. We need a starting point and we need an ending point. Now this foot is used when your buttonhole foot is not long enough. So buttons longer than 25 millimeters. Sometimes I'll even use this style for more of what is considered a manual buttonhole for repair. So if I've got a buttonhole that just didn't turn out right, or I've got one that kind of loosened up on an item, I can go back in and kind of finesse it with this one. So same thing, we're going to do a starting point. But watch what I'm going to do. I am going to hold this just like I was like the other foot was doing automatically for me. So to sew backwards, I'm keeping my thumb on this lever and I'm watching for the mark that I put on the fabric. So I can sew to that same position, good. And then I'm going to hold this forward so it will switch and come back down with the satin stitch. So I'll stop at the mark at the bottom. 1 stitch or 2 more, here we go. And then I'm going to change this to go back, holding it each time. Now I'm going to go slow because this is one thing I was noticing. I was overshooting my line. I definitely don't want to go too far. Oh, might have already gone a stitch. I'm going to just slide it forward just a hair. And then holding this forward, we'll get the tack at the top, and then we'll return back down to where we started. Once again, when I am to that point, I'm going to stop sewing. So I'm all in control here. 1 more stitch, that looks good. And then push away from you. That will tack it out. Keep your foot on the foot control. It knows to lock it there, so just let it finish up for you. But the key is actually holding it back when you want to go back, holding it forward when you go forward, and then all the way again, and then again. So that is how a manual buttonhole would also be done. Now there's another one that is considered a corded buttonhole. What does that actually mean? That means that when you put a buttonhole on some stretchy fabric, sometimes the buttonhole is going to stretch. And this cord, so I've just cut a little cord, I've folded it in half, and the key is actually this little point at the back. It's going to catch over my loop, and then they're going to parallel stretch all the way down to this little kind of groove in the front of the foot, and it will come up and kind of catch in there. Let's see if I can get that to kind of stay. So you'll see that the cords in the middle are going to be exactly where my satin stitches are going to take place. Now this is a little slippery cord, so what I'm going to do is actually put the foot on first, and then I'll hook that up and in. You'll also notice that the manual buttonhole foot has that little kind of tongue back here, so you can do the exact same thing. So folding my cord in half, I'm coming behind the machine, and you'll be able to see it as I bring it up the front. Good. So once I really just start stitching the buttonhole, it will catch the cord and encase it underneath the 2 satin stitch rows of the buttonhole. And then watch, I've got a little something to show you once you see how this actually goes. So just kind of pull that out. You'll see everything is kind of contained here. And the loop that was in the back, that actually is going to get pulled so it completely disappears underneath. And then we'll cut it nice and close at the end, or you can take some threads and feed them to the back. That also works too. This is my little tail I got caught from when I started, but we can trim that out. And now that buttonhole, it actually makes it a little bit more rounded. See how full it looks compared to the other ones? Actually, a corded buttonhole is a very couture style of buttonhole to do. Now, you'll notice that you do have other buttonhole styles up here. Go ahead and stitch them out once so you can kind of see the order. They sometimes change, like the keyhole buttonhole starts in another direction. But it's really kind of nice to have a foot that you can put that button in, and it will do the whole buttonhole for you.